ora koutou, ko aroha tōku ingoa, ko Hikurangi te maunga, ko Waiapu te awa, ko Ngāti Parau tōku iwi. Hello everyone, my name is Aroha. We start with pepeha when meeting people to explain where we come from, and in sharing this information, it helps to establish connections from which we build relationships. And as a leader, connection is incredibly important to me. In a work sense, it's about ensuring that the team is connected to each other through a common purpose, and that we understand how our work is connected to the objectives of the firm. Today, I'm extremely honoured to be connecting with you all and want to acknowledge the coordinators of the event, the other speakers, and all of you attending for making this opportunity possible. So thank you. I'll just start with a little bit of background about myself, if that's okay. I've been at FNZ for about 4 years now, and I currently lead the Solution Centre, which is essentially the engine room of our business, and that my team of about 200 analysts, developers, delivery managers and testers are the people who build our software platforms. And I started my career in tech kind of by accident. It all started many, many years ago with a summer job backfilling one of the receptionists at the Ministry of Māori Development, or Te Puni Kōkiri, here in Wellington, where the late, great Hika Tangitu taught me, amongst other things, to smile before answering the phone, and where a measure of success was memorising the 4-digit extension numbers for the hundreds of different staff, because it made transferring the calls faster and more efficient. Of course, TBK isn't a tech company, but after that I was at a bit of a loose end. So when my best friend's uncle offered for us to come over to Melbourne, where he was living, and stay with him for a bit, we sold everything that we had, packed a single suitcase, and literally with $300 in my back pocket, which even in those days wasn't a lot of money, we moved to Melbourne to start a new life. Within a couple of weeks, in my ill-fitting suit and 2 big high heels, I managed to put my newly gained receptionist skills to use and landed a job at a computer hardware distributor. And about 3 months after that, I applied for and got the role of service coordinator within the repairs department of the company. To this day, one of my proudest accomplishments, in a work sense anyway, is the piece of paper that certifies me as a Toshiba laptop engineer. It's probably pretty useless in this day and age, to be fair, but it did hook me into what has been a career of over 20 years in technology. And it's a field that I absolutely love because, as I mentioned in the previous slot, you can just never get bored. Things are constantly changing and there is so much opportunity. Now, I may not get to put my Toshiba screwdriver set to use much these days, but it's fair to say that my problem-solving nature is one of my core skills, and definitely one of the reasons that I have been successful in this industry. And whilst I might work in tech, I don't actually consider myself a technical person. And my team can certainly attest to that when I'm asking them yet another question to help me understand what they're talking about, or getting them to break things down for me to help understand smaller pieces of more simple information. So I think being able to translate the complex into something that people can understand, and that's regardless of their kind of role or background, is also another thing that weirdly has kind of helped me in my career. So problem solving, reducing complexity and creating connections are things that I consider key skills, which has helped me get to where I am today. And they're also skills that, as Māori and Pasifika women particularly, are kind of built into our DNA. So anyway, it's enough about me. I just wanted to today share a little bit about FNZ so you understand what we are, who we are and what we do, and then also share a couple of practical tips for you, that given that you're about to kind of start on your careers. So about FNZ. FNZ was founded in New Zealand in 2003 by our current Group CEO and founder, Adrian Durham. And FNZ is a global platform to open up wealth. We partner with the entire industry, financial services industry, to make wealth management accessible to more people. The reason Adrian started the company back then was that he could see that the cost of living were increasing, and he wondered what this actually meant to his parents as they moved through to retirement and how they might have enough money to thrive, especially when he could see that their little retirement savings were already being eaten up by fees, and what might that look like over time. And he wanted to change that by transforming the whole wealth management industry to reduce the fees and enable more people to take control of their own wealth creation. So FNZ is a scale player. Today, we partner with over 650 financial institutions, 8,000 wealth management firms, and enable over 20 million people across all wealth segments to invest in the things that they care about on their own terms. And this approach makes wealth more transparent, sustainable, and personal, empowering millions of people to grow the wealth the way that they want to. FNZ currently employs over 4,500 people in 20 locations worldwide, with offices in North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Africa. We have grown to a multinational industry leader, working with the world's largest and most prestigious brands. And in the last 5 years, FNZ has grown our assets under administration from $212 billion to over $1.5 trillion, representing the combined savings and investments of over 20 million customers worldwide. This growth is only set to continue. As I mentioned in the previous section, I guess our mission is to open up wealth for all. So we have quite aggressive growth targets throughout all different industries and all locations. Our technology is essentially a bunch of component parts. So our teams build software and we back that up with our own, it's built on top of our own either private cloud or public cloud infrastructure. And when we package that up with back office asset administration services for our clients. And by unifying this currently quite fragmented value chain, digitizing the distribution and mass personalization of wealth management, FNZ has been able to transform the industry, enabling its clients to break free of complex and legacy technology, connecting the entire industry through a single global platform. So what does this mean in terms of careers at FNZ? There are many, many opportunities. We've got all different types of teams here at FNZ. So it could be client servicing, asset administration, technology, project management, HR, the works, like there's everything. We've got a huge growing team. Within my team specifically, in the Solution Centre, we have a couple of key roles, which are our analyst testers and analyst developers. Analyst testers responsible for business and functional solution design, translating these to what we call user stories, and then handing those off to developers to build up our platform aligned to our clients' requirements. Then they go through and test those stories to make sure that they're actually meeting the client requirements and that there aren't any bugs. Our developers are the ones who write the code, they design our wealth management platforms, and they create pretty slick web applications. We all work really, really closely together with our client-facing teams, our clients, and internally within our team to make sure that we're producing excellent outcomes. Within FNZ, the culture is extremely fast-paced, it's inclusive. We've got over 70 different ethnicities represented. We have a great salary and other benefits available, flexible working hours. We have Culture Club. We have a whole bunch of different diversity and inclusion initiatives, various different cultural celebrations, volunteer activities, full life health and TPD insurance cover. And we wrap all of this up for our new starters through a structured training and career development program, which is called our FNZ Academy. So, some practical tips. Just a disclaimer, I didn't actually invent either of these things. I'm merely just passing on to you a few things that have been useful to me. And as I mentioned, as you kind of embark on your career, I thought they might be helpful. So tip number one, to state the obvious, to get a job, you need to have an interview. And I've done hundreds of interviews in my time. And the one thing that people don't do very well is give structure to their answers. There are a bunch of different questions where you will be asked, they call them behavioural style questions, where you'll be asked to give an example of a time when. To help answer these types of questions, I encourage you to use the CAR technique. You can Google for more details, obviously, but CAR stands for context, action, and result. And this format will help provide structure to your answers, which is especially useful if you get a little nervous in interviews, like many do, or like me, have a tendency to drift when you're talking. Now, there isn't a correct answer here at all because everybody's experiences and examples will be different. So it's really the structure that counts. So for giving you an example, if an interviewer asks the question, tell me about a time when you've worked well under pressure. In response, you might say, yep, I've experienced this situation before. For example, working Friday night at Nando's, we get really busy and often see more than 4 times the number of customers that we do on any other night of the week. In this situation, I would prioritize the activities I needed to do first to ensure I was acting on the most time-sensitive or critical, taking customer orders and making food, for example, before, say, refilling the napkin holders, to make sure that we got the food out to our customers within an acceptable time frame. So if I map this back to the CAR technique, C, context, it's a busy Friday night, 4 times as many people in orders. A, action, break down the tasks into smaller pieces and prioritize them based on importance. And R, result, was getting food out to people before they got cranky. So the same answer with maybe some minor tweaks could work for a question around prioritization or even customer service. So before you start getting out there and booking interviews, I really encourage you to take a moment to research and practice this technique and get a few examples ready. Once you have some examples in your back pocket and get used to the structure, it will become naturally part of the way that you communicate. And it helps to build confidence too going into those interviews. Okay, so tip number 2 is to know your strengths and go all in on those. Problem solving, reducing complexity, and creating connection are some of mine, and I've built a career on them. I've paid some attention to my weaknesses, sure, but I prioritize my time based on my strengths rather than my weaknesses. And instead, I surround myself with great people who are strong in the areas that I'm not. Some call this scaffolding. I call it building a great team. And to me, a team is like a brilliant cut diamond. It's super strong, and regardless of which angle you look at it, it sparkles. Understanding your strengths doesn't have to be an overwhelming exercise. You might find it helpful to think outside of the box. And I love some of the examples that Florida shared before, because they're similar ones as what I've got here. So one example is that one of my core values is manaakitanga, which is ultimately about showing respect for others. And for me, this translates to my strength in building high-performing teams, because by understanding and respecting our people, you then take the time to get to know them, understand their strengths, and then you can build great teams and set ourselves up for success. Another example is on the marae. It's commonplace in the kitchen. I love how this has come up several times today. It's commonplace in the kitchen to have a run sheet of activities in the lead up to a big event. And so for one of the examples, in these situations, we'll often have one of our aunties, directing all the traffic and telling us what to do. So this not only demonstrates an ability to break things down into logical parts to achieve an outcome, it's also showing great collaboration skills across a group. And it also means that my Auntie Anna would make a formidable project manager if she ever wanted to take a career change. Anyway, I'd encourage you all to reflect on the things that you've done in your life so far. Consider the areas that you have shined and enjoyed the most, and most importantly, the things that come naturally to you. And if you build your career based on those foundations, you will set yourself up for continued success. Right, so I'm aware of the timing, and I just wanted to take one last moment to say thank you. I do encourage you all to check us out. We build software platforms. We're on a mission to open up wealth for all. We have opportunities available worldwide, and we're growing at an extraordinary rate. We're hiring, and we need people like you to add to our team to make that diamond shine even brighter. So check us out and get in touch for more information. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Aroha, and that was great. And thank you for the tips, the practical tips. Our attendants should have, written down notes about your tips. So before we end, I guess you can also answer the question earlier. What are your thoughts if are there any extracurricular activities that would help an application be more appealing to your company or to your organization? Your thoughts about it?
I don't think so. I think that we pretty much take people on face value when they come into, the door, and we have a good corridor with them. We set up a range of different activities to assess them in different contexts. So not only a one-to-one session, but also a team environment. We give them some questions, some challenges to solve, if you like. And so we're actually looking at a wide range of things. I'm not sure that extracurricular things would necessarily play a part. I mean, certainly the way that you react in those situations may be based on some extracurricular experiences that you've had. So working in teams before, whether it be social or on the marae or whatever it might be, means that when you come into a group environment, you'll be more likely to be able to work and connect quickly with those people. So I wouldn't say that we're necessarily looking for them like on a sheet of paper or anything, but you would find that those activities that you might do outside of work will give you skills that will be useful in how you bring yourself to work. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for that, Aruha. And I've also noticed earlier that you have tons of extracurricular activities within the company, right? So I think that it won't be a problem to our applicants if if there comes a time that they'll
Yeah,
be
no,
joining your.
it's a great way for people to meet each other, because we've
Yeah.
got social, football teams, netball teams, quiz nights, games nights. Like there's a huge array actually of all these different groups that have kind of popped up. And I was chatting to one of our new starters recently, and he's like involved in everything, and he knows more people in the building than I do already, and he's been there like just a few weeks. So it's pretty impressive actually how well those things, can help you connect to people.
And I think that speaks a lot about the culture in your organization, which I think one of the things that our attendees consider usually whenever they apply for a job or an opportunity, right? So yeah, again, thanks so much, Aroha, for that insightful talk, and for earlier for your participation in the panel discussion.